from Michael Jordan losing out on $750 million by not landing Victor Wembanyama, to Ja Morant putting deals worth over $100 million in jeopardy. These are some NBA players that lost millions in seconds. So let's start off with the Jordan, because here's the thing, Victor Wembanyama is a very special player, and his potential arrival could have had a significant impact on the Charlotte Hornets, but more so on Michael Jordan's tenure as the owner of the team. I mean, his team had the second best odds at landing the #1 pick at the NBA drafts, meaning Wembanyama, the 19-year-old French prospect, could have been theirs. But things didn't work out as they were intended, and the San Antonio Spurs emerged as the winners of the lottery. The thing is, Wembanyama not only would have turned around the team's fortunes, but also potentially increased the franchise's value by $750 million. That's right, this missed opportunity. Plus the rumors of Jordan looking to sell the team, and you've got millions lost in potential earning. But why Wembanyama though? The answer's simple. The guy's been hailed as the greatest prospect in NBA draft history, all because of the exceptional skills that make him stand out among his peers. But that's not all. The lottery result caused drama with the Detroit Pistons as well. They had equal odds for the top pick but couldn't make it. On the other hand, the #1 pick has already been estimated to be worth $16 million for the Spurs. While that's all great for the team, it actually represents another setback for Jordan. Had they secured the top pick, aka Wembanyama, the Hornets' value would have risen from $1.7 billion to $2.1 billion. Now, Jordan holds 70% of the stake in the team. This means that it would have cost him at least $420 million. But of course, it'll obviously be much more than that. That said, let's now talk about someone who's lost millions in personal wealth, Antoine Walker. He's the kind of guy who doesn't shy away from spending large amounts of money. He did it while he was playing in the NBA and continued to do so way after it ended. And there's a big reason for that. Walker's upbringing in poverty, plus the lack of financial experience, contributed to his downfall. Despite earning over $108 million throughout his NBA career, Walker struggled to manage his wealth. I mean, it's one thing to lose a couple of $100,000, but losing out on your entire NBA career earnings, that's quite a lot. I mean, a lavish lifestyle is understandable, but how lavishly do you have to live to spend over $100 million so quickly? Well, there were luxury cars, clothes, and jewelry involved in all of this, none of which helped him in the end. That and the fact that he has a big heart. No, really. He spent over $36 million only supporting his friends and family, none of which were loans. That already almost halves his wealth. And then there's the gambling issue, particularly his stint in Las Vegas, where he lost around $4 million in just one go. On top of that, he also invested around $20 million in real estate, but the market crashed. The result? Bankruptcy. Since then, though, he's been trying to turn his life around, particularly by advocating for financial literacy. But we can see the problem here, right? Sure, he didn't know how to manage his finances, but it's also a case of compulsive buying. Though he has been debt-free since 2012. Speaking of losing personal wealth, however, it's not always intentional. Like what happened with Isaiah Thomas. The guy began his NBA career with the Sacramento Kings in 2011. And although he was the last pick in the draft back then, he quickly established himself as an important player on the team. And then he joined the Boston Celtics. Again, a great move, because that's where his career massively flourished. Thomas became a two-time All-Star and had a remarkable 2016 to 2017 season, averaging 28.9 points and 5.3 assists per game. Clearly, he played a crucial role in leading the Celtics to 53 wins that season. But here's the thing, he got too confident, too quick. So much so that he demanded a Brink truck from the Celtics to secure his services, but as I said, destiny had planned something else. Soon enough, he suffered a serious hip injury, preventing him from securing the said contract. It got so bad that the Celtics actually decided to trade Thomas to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but even there, he had to miss the first 3 months of the next season. Obviously, the Cavaliers weren't too happy with him either, and so he got traded off to the Lakers, repeating the cycle for the third time. The thing is, the guy who was in a position to demand a big contract from the Celtics has struggled to make $6 million since 2018. Sure, you can't blame him for the injury that he went through, but the point is, he took a bet on himself, and the gamble didn't pay off as he'd hoped, though he's not the only one betting on himself. Nerlens Noel's another guy who went through something similar. The guy was a highly sought-after prospect. In fact, he was expected to be the #1 overall pick in the 2013 NBA draft, but suffered an ACL injury 4 months prior to the draft. As a result, he was selected 6th by the New Orleans Pelicans and then traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. Despite a typical recovery time of 9 months for his injury, the 76ers made him sit out his entire rookie season as part of their own strategy. When Noel finally played, he performed well but wasn't considered the team's star, leading to his trade to the Dallas Mavericks. There he had 2 productive seasons, but shockingly turned down a 4-year, $70 million contract. What's even more bizarre is that instead of this contract, he ended up signing a minimum deal worth around $2 million. But what about the rest of the 68? Well, goodbye to that. That said, his reasoning behind the rejection was that he'd hoped to receive a max contract offer after declining the initial deal. But it wasn't his own decision either. The guy took his agent's word for it and lost on a huge opportunity. He later sued Rich Paul, the agent, but ultimately lost the case. Fortunately, Noel has since earned bigger contracts, including a 1-year, $5 million deal with the New York Knicks, followed by a 3-year, $27.7 million contract. But it's nothing compared to that initial contract, is it? In reality, if he had accepted that, he would have earned around $47 million more. Now he's not the only fool here. Dennis Schroeder did something even more insane. He was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers and performed well, averaging 15.4 points and 5.8 assists. In return, the Lakers offered him a 4-year, $84 million contract. But guess what? He turned it down. Again, in the hopes of using free agency to negotiate a max contract. But it's not something the Lakers were looking for. So instead, they traded him for Russell Westbrook. Schroeder then had to settle for a 1-year, $5.9 million deal with the Boston Celtics. Not bad, but also not very great, especially when you compare it with what he could have had. By not accepting the Lakers' offer, he lost at the very least $75 million. And I doubt any contract would ever make up for it. Fortunately, Schroeder himself isn't too sad about it. Speaking of overconfidence though, let's talk about Ja Morant for a second. By now you must have heard about the way the dude just crashed. Clearly, it's one of the biggest stories in the NBA right now. Despite an 8-game suspension, his reputation is probably never going to recover, and because of that, he's lost a significant amount of money. It was all because of his visit to a gentleman's club, plus the display of a firearm. I mean, why would you do that? Obviously, there was public outrage, but I'm not sure how he expected anything else from the people. As a result, brands that endorse Morant have distanced themselves from him, including Powerade, who pulled their ad featuring him and erased him from their social media platforms. This controversy came at a crucial time for Coca-Cola, as they'd invested heavily in their advertising campaign featuring Morant, which was set to air during March Madness. The deal was around $10 million, but has been in jeopardy since then. And of course, other brands would follow suit as well, one of which is Nike, which was supposed to release an original shoe with him. That, plus the obvious loss of money from the NBA directly. With a full season suspension, he could easily miss out on around $30 million from that. And all in all, it would mean that he would lose around $50 million in total. Now imagine all that from a few seconds of Instagram Live. It's obvious that he now regrets doing that. So there you have it. From Ja Morant putting deals worth over $100 million in jeopardy, to Michael Jordan losing out on $750 million by missing out on Victor Wembanyama. Those were some NBA players that lost millions in seconds.